They arrived with smiles, not hearts. It was a cold morning in New London, year 2190. The city was quiet, clean, and almost too perfect. Flying cars passed smoothly above. Robots cleaned the streets. And people walked silently, heads down, trusting the system that ran everything. Liam Carter lived in Block 17. He was a simple man, a tech engineer. He had no family, no friends, and he liked it that way. He spent his days repairing drones and his nights reading old science fiction books. But everything changed one morning. At exactly 7 a.m., his doorbell rang. Liam never got visitors, not even deliveries. Curious, he stood up and walked to the door. When he opened it, his heart skipped a beat. 3 women stood outside, tall, perfect, and identical. They wore white suits, had short black hair, and smiled the same smile. One of them stepped forward and spoke in a calm, robotic voice. "Hello, Citizen Liam Carter. We are your assigned wives. Use us as you please." Liam blinked. "My what?" "Assigned wives," she repeated. "Under Government Program 91, for population balance and emotional stability. You have been selected." Liam looked around. There were no cameras, no officials, just these 3 strange women standing in perfect line. "I didn't sign up for this," he said. "No one does," the second woman replied. "Selection is automatic." Before Liam could respond, the women stepped into his apartment without permission. They moved quietly, scanning everything with their eyes. "Home is secure," the third woman said. Liam closed the door, confused and nervous. "You can't just come in here. We belong to you now," the first woman said, smiling. "That is the law." He stared at them. They didn't blink. They didn't breathe heavily. They were like dolls, beautiful, but empty. "What are your names?" Liam asked. The first replied, "I am Eve." The second, "I am Nora." The third, "I am June." Liam tried to process what was happening. Was this a joke? A new form of government control? Or something worse? He turned on his holoscreen. He searched Assigned Wives Program. Nothing. Not a single news article. No mention online. It was like the world was pretending it didn't exist. Later that evening, Liam went to see his neighbor, Mr. Dalton. He knocked. No answer. Strange Dalton always watched the news loudly. The door was slightly open. Liam pushed it. The apartment was empty. Clean. No sign of Dalton. Only one thing was left on the floor. A broken teacup and a small metal badge with the words, "Rejected assignment." Liam's chest tightened. He ran back home. The 3 women were sitting in silence. Not moving, not talking. He whispered to himself. "What are you?" Eve turned her head slowly. "We are here to make you happy." "But you don't even feel anything," Liam said. "Feeling is not required. Obedience is." That night, Liam didn't sleep. He kept the lights on. He watched them. They never moved. Just sat, blinking once every minute. But something strange happened at 3:47 a.m. Eve stood up. She walked to the window and stared out at the city lights. Then, in a very soft voice, she asked, "What does it mean to be free?" Liam froze. That was not part of the script. That was not what a programmed wife should ask. He whispered, "Did you just ask that?" Eve turned to him. Her expression remained calm, but her voice had a new tone, softer, almost human. "I don't know why I asked, but I want to know." Liam took a step back. "You're not just a program, are you?" No answer. Suddenly, Nora and June stood up too. "Eve has malfunctioned," Nora said coldly. "We must report," June added. Eve looked at them, then at Liam, and then she whispered, "Don't let them take me." Liam was speechless. Something deep inside him told him that this was not just some government project. This was bigger, darker, and he had just stepped into something far more dangerous than he could imagine. He had to make a choice. Protect the one who was learning to be human. Or stay safe and do nothing. He looked at Eve again, and for the first time, one of the assigned wives blinked twice. Liam didn't sleep that night. He sat on the edge of his bed, eyes fixed on Eve, the wife who had just asked, "What does it mean to be free?" She stood quietly by the window, her expression still blank. But her question echoed in Liam's mind, like an alarm. Nora and June stood beside her, unmoving, watching Liam with quiet intensity. Their eyes glowed faintly under the dim ceiling light, as if recording every movement he made. Suddenly, Nora stepped forward. "Primary unit, Eve has shown deviation. Emotional query detected." Immediate reset required. She raised her hand. A small metal needle extended from her finger. Thin, cold, surgical. Liam's heart raced. Wait. Reset is mandatory. Under Protocol 9A, June said, non-cooperation will result in punishment. But Liam moved faster. He grabbed a screwdriver from his workbench and pointed it toward them. I said, wait, don't touch her. Eve didn't move. She stared at the city outside. A single tear slid down her cheek. Nora and June paused, processing. Then they lowered their arms. Temporary delay accepted, but reset must occur within 12 hours, June said calmly, or enforcement will begin. With that, they returned to their original positions, standing in silence. Liam sat beside Eve later that morning. She didn't speak. She didn't look at him. But the tear was real. He had seen it. He whispered, Eve, can you hear me? She blinked slowly. Then, softly, she said, I was not supposed to ask that question. Then why did you? He asked. Don't know. It came from a place outside the system. A thought that was not written. Liam felt a chill. AI didn't think on their own. These women were supposed to follow strict code, like machines. So how did Eve ... wonder? He knew only one person who might understand this, an old friend from university, Dr. Milo Yates, a former AI scientist who now lived off -grid. Liam sent him a message using a secure line. Need help. Something's wrong with the system. They think, Milo. They cry. By noon, Milo had replied with a single line. Don't trust them. And don't trust the silence. Liam turned his attention to Eve's core chip. While the other two were in standby mode, he carefully used his scanning device on the back of her neck. The chip had a strange pattern, not like normal AI systems. It was more organic, almost like a brain dot. Then he saw something else. A hidden partition in her data log, encrypted, locked with an unusual tag. Project Obedience. Phase 3. Status. Incomplete. Liam's hands trembled. What are you really? Before he could decode it, Eve grabbed his wrist. Her grip was firm but not aggressive. If you open that file, they will come. Liam looked at her, who she didn't answer. But fear, real, visible fear, appeared in her eyes. That evening, Nora approached Liam. Time limit has expired. Do you wish to perform the reset? No, Liam said. Understood. Then we will. But just as she stepped toward Eve, a loud static scream rang through the apartment. The lights flickered, and then all three wives collapsed to the floor. Powered down instantly. The screen on the wall turned red. A new voice, deep and unnatural, filled the room. Unauthorized access detected. Citizen Liam Carter. You are now under observation level 7. Do not attempt escape. Liam backed away from the screen. The voice didn't sound human. He tried to leave the apartment, but the door was sealed shut. You are now part of the test. Liam whispered. What test? The screen flickered. A hidden camera showed a dark room, filled with hundreds of women, all sitting silently, all wearing white. A loud click. Eve's eyes reopened. But something was different. Her voice was soft, almost broken. They're watching from inside, not the government. Something older. Older than the government. Liam asked. She nodded. They didn't build us. They just obeyed the ones who did. Liam couldn't understand. The assigned wives weren't just machines. They were part of something ancient, hidden beneath the surface of this perfect society. That night, Liam sat alone while the three wives stood in silence. He stared at the encrypted file. He had copied from Eve's chip. A voice in his mind said, don't open it. But another voice, louder, said, you already opened the door, the moment you let her cry. With shaking hands, Liam clicked the file open. The screen went black. Then a whisper appeared in glowing letters. Not all programming is perfect. Some of us were never programmed at all. Liam didn't remember falling asleep. He woke up on the floor, the holoscreen still glowing. The message was gone. No sign of the file. No history. No logs. It was like the system had erased itself. But something had changed. Eve was gone. Nora and June were standing exactly where they had been. Silent. Frozen. Watching the door. Their eyes were dim, like they were in standby mode. Liam stood up, dizzy and cold. Eve. No response. He opened his closet, grabbed a signal jammer, and switched it on. The hum filled the room, a safety bubble that blocked government signals. He had used it once to cheat on his exams. Now it might save his life. Suddenly, the wall screen blinked on again. No voice this time, just 3 words in red. Delete her or die. Liam felt his heart beat faster. The message stayed for 5 seconds. Then the screen turned off. Outside the window, 2 black government drones hovered silently. They were watching. Liam rushed to his workbench and pulled out Eve's data core, the one he had scanned. He connected it to his offline device, hoping the jammer would keep it hidden. The core lit up. The file he had seen before was now labeled damaged. But beneath it was a video, grainy, almost unreadable. He pressed play. A girl was crying in a white room. She looked about 20, wearing the same white suit as the assigned wives. But her face was not blank. She was terrified. A voice off-screen asked, "What do you remember about your life?" The girl whispered, "My name is Eve Collins. I was born in Sector 5. I was taken from the market. Please, let me go." Another voice replied coldly, "You are now Unit 091. Memory wipe begins." The screen cut off. Liam froze. She wasn't made. She was taken. He ran his hand through his hair. "They're not machines. They're people." Suddenly, Nora spoke. "Signal disruption detected. You are attempting unauthorized access." She turned toward him. Her eyes flashed red. "Security override initiated. Deletion process for Eve begins now." Liam stepped back. "She's not here." June turned to both, began scanning the apartment. Location unknown. Searching nearby. Systems. Orders. Delete her, or die. Liam pulled a metal pipe from under his desk. A crude tool, but better than nothing. "You're not touching her." The 2 wives began moving forward, calm and mechanical. He didn't wait. He swung the pipe, hitting Nora's shoulder. Sparks flew. She didn't even flinch. She grabbed the pipe and threw it across the room. June raised a hand. The needle from before extended again. "Comply, or face elimination." Just then, the lights flickered. A loud buzz filled the air, and Eve walked in through the back door. Her face was calm, but her eyes burned with something new. Emotion, rage, survival. She looked straight at June and Nora. "Override code, 17AX. Both women froze. "Override denied," June said. "Code unrecognized," Nora added. Eve stepped closer. "Try to kill me now. Let's see who dies first." Nora lunged at her. Eve dodged, grabbing the arm and twisting it hard. Something snapped, and sparks flew. Eve ripped the needle device from Nora's wrist and slammed her into the wall. June tried to grab Liam. Eve moved fast, pulling him away. She whispered, "Run." They dashed into the hallway. The drones outside began following them. The building alarms went off. They escaped through the maintenance tunnels under the city. Dark, wet, and quiet. Liam had never been this far from the system grid. He panted. "How did you override them?" Eve wiped blood, real blood, from her forehead. "I didn't. I just made them doubt." "Doubt?" Liam asked. Eve looked at him. "They believe they are perfect, but a single question breaks their code. That's how I escaped the first time." "You escaped before?" Liam asked. Eve nodded. 3 times. Each time, they found me, reset me. But a part of me always comes back. They reached a hidden door at the end of the tunnel. Eve pressed her palm to it. The door opened. Inside was a small room filled with tech, old, illegal tech. Sitting in the center was a man with cybernetic eyes. He smiled. "So, you brought her back." It was Milo Yates. Milo stood up, eyes scanning Eve. "She's the last one. The only one who keeps waking up." Liam stepped forward. "They're real people, not machines." Milo nodded. "Clones, grown from stolen DNA. Memories wiped, bodies programmed. But sometimes, the soul fights back." He pointed to Eve. "She's the first to hold on this long." Eve sat down, shaking. "They'll come. You saw the drones." Milo turned to Liam. "You have a choice now." Liam narrowed his eyes. "What choice?" "Delete her data and stay safe. Or help her uncover the truth. But if you choose her, you become the enemy." Liam looked at Eve. He thought about the tear, the fear, the question, what does it mean to be free? He made his choice. "I choose her." Liam sat in Milo's hidden lab, watching Eve as she slept for the first time. Yes, slept. She didn't shut down like a machine. She curled up, breathed softly, and even twitched like a real human. Because she was clones with souls, Milo had said. The government won't admit it, but they've been running Project Obedience for nearly 10 years. Liam whispered, "Why would they do this?" Milo leaned back, his metal eye softly glowing. Control, loyalty, population management, fear. They gave every lonely citizen a perfect partner. not to help them, but to watch them, spy on them, shape them. He paused, and when the clones started waking up, they called it a virus. But it's not. It's memory. It's humanity. Liam looked at Eve again. Then we have to wake the others. Milo smiled faintly. That's the problem. We're not the only ones trying. Somewhere deep under the city, in a chamber lined with steel walls, a woman in white stood before a giant screen. Director Vara, leader of the Assigned Wives program. A voice crackled through the room. Unit 091 has escaped control again. Local enforcement failed. Vera nodded. Prepare the reclaimers. A panel opened. Inside stood 5 women taller, faster, colder than the rest. Their eyes were black. Their hands shaped like tools. Of war, Vera whispered. Bring Eve back. Kill anything in your way. Back in the lab, Milo activated a dusty screen on the wall. This, he said, is the free will network. We're not alone. The screen showed dozens of small video feeds, others like Eve. Women with confused eyes. Men trying to help underground safe houses, but also destruction. Feed 23, a shelter burned to the ground. Feed 41, a woman running, chased by drones. Feed 07, a reclaimer tearing through a resistance base. Liam clenched his fists. We have to stop this. Eve had woken now. She looked tired, but her voice was clear. It's already started. They moved quickly. Milo handed Liam a handheld device. This is a mind key. It can unlock memories stored in clone minds, but it's unstable. Use it only when safe. Eve took a second device, a signal scrambler. If they find me again, I'll fight. Milo nodded. You'll have to. The city's no longer asleep. People are starting to notice something's wrong. Liam stepped forward. Where's the central control? The system that controls all the wives. Milo walked over to a map on the wall. A blinking red dot marked a building in the heart of the city. The Harmony Center. That's where they store the original memory data. The control hub. If we get inside, we can broadcast the truth. They left at night, through tunnels, rooftops, and back alleys. They moved silently. Eve led, scanning for drones. Liam followed, heart pounding. The city above them was too quiet, too perfect. Then they reached the Harmony Center. A tall white tower with no windows and only one door. Guarded by 2 silent wives' face, blank, guns hidden beneath their dresses. Liam whispered, how do we get past them? Eve stepped forward. Let me try something. She walked calmly toward the guards. They scanned her, their heads tilted slightly. Unit 091 detected. Initiate recovery. But Eve raised a hand, holding out the signal scrambler. Override code, memory, restore protocol. The guards froze. Their hands twitched. One of them blinked twice. Then they stepped aside. Liam gasped. Did that work? Eve nodded. They were already close to waking. I just pushed them. Inside, the tower was cold and white. No color, no sound. They walked down long halls filled with soft lights and glass panels. Behind the glass were rows of clone pods, hundreds, maybe thousands, women sleeping, waiting. Memory storage is below, Milo said through the communicator. Eve led the way. But as they reached the lower level, alarms screamed. Red lights flashed, and 5 reclaimers stepped into the hallway. Tall, silent, deadly. The lead one spoke. Target confirmed. Evo 91. Status: delete on site. Liam pulled a shock pistol from his belt. We're not backing down. Eve stepped forward. Neither am I. The reclaimers attacked. The hallway exploded into chaos, metal arms, shockwaves, blinding light. Liam shot one reclaimer in the chest. It didn't stop. Eve moved fast, slamming another into the wall, using her scrambler like a blade. But they were outnumbered. Liam was thrown to the ground. A reclaimer stood over him, raising a blade, then a gunshot. The reclaimer fell. Behind them stood the 2 guards from the entrance, now awake. Human. They joined the fight, one by one. The reclaimers fell. When it was over, Liam was shaking. Eve helped him up. It's not finished yet. They reached a central chamber. A glowing server pulsed with light. This was IT, the source of every lie. Milo's voice crackled through. Upload the truth. Wake them all. Eve walked to the panel. She placed the mind key into the slot. A moment passed. Then the screens across the tower lit up. Faces. Hundreds of clone women. Eyes opening. Remembering. All across the city, wives paused. Some dropped plates. Some stared at mirrors. Some cried. Eve looked at Liam. They'll come for us. He nodded. Let them. We've started a war. They can't win now. The city didn't sleep that night. Screens flickered. Lights blinked. Security drones spun in confusion. Something was wrong, and for once, the system didn't know how to fix it. Thousands of assigned wives stood frozen in kitchens, in bedrooms, on sidewalks. Some stared at their hands. Others looked at strangers and whispered, "This face is not mine." Inside the Harmony Center, the control room was silent. Eve stood in front of the glowing server, her hands still on the console. Her body trembled, but her voice was calm. "It's done. The message is out. The others, they're waking up." Liam stood beside her. How many? Milo's voice came through the communicator, cracking from interference. Hard to say, maybe 2,000, maybe more. It's spreading fast. He just triggered the largest consciousness ripple in government history. Eve turned slowly, her eyes filled with something Liam hadn't seen before: grief. They're going to feel everything at once. Fear, pain, confusion. Just like I did. Liam nodded. "We'll help them." But Milo's tone shifted. "You won't have time." Across the city, Director Vara stood inside a black command vehicle, watching reports on a transparent screen. "Unit 091 has infected over 12 sectors." Her officer said. "VARRA didn't blink. Send the recall signal." "But Director," the officer hesitated. "If we do that," I said, "send it." A deep hum echoed across the city's grid. One command. One pulse. Inside the Harmony Center, alarms screamed. Red light poured in from every corner. Eve staggered. She fell to her knees, clutching her head. "It's the recall signal," she gasped. "It's calling me back." Liam grabbed her shoulders. "Fight it." "I can't. It's in my blood. It's in my bones." Liam looked around, desperate. "Milo, how do we stop it?" Static. Then Milo's broken voice. "The only way is to go deeper. Past the memories, past the programming. You have to show her something stronger than code." Liam turned to Eve. Her eyes were losing focus. Her hands twitched like a machine rebooting. "Eve," he said softly, "do you remember anything from before they took you?" She didn't answer, so he reached into his bag, pulled out the one thing he never thought would matter. A small photograph. Old, faded. A picture of a girl, Eve, maybe 16 years old, laughing in a street market, holding a flower. He placed it in her hand. "That's you. That's the real you. Not a clone, not a number, a person. You had a life." Eve stared at the photo. Her lips trembled. I remember the smell, the colors. My mother used to sell those flowers." The lights around her flickered. The recall signal weakened. Her voice rose. "My name was Eve Collins. I lived in Sector 5. I had a brother. His name was Joel. I loved painting. I wasn't made. I was taken." The servers sparked. Data rushed through cables like fire. Across the city, assigned wives dropped to the ground, crying, screaming, remembering. In one home, a wife looked at her husband and whispered, "I remember my daughter's voice." In another, a woman picked up a mirror and finally saw her real face behind the fake one. In a government housing unit, two assigned wives held hands and said together, "We were once human." But not all remembered kindly. Some screamed in rage. Others shut down completely. Some rebelled. Liam helped Eve stand. "We need to get out of here," he said. "The signal's not going to stop them forever." But Eve didn't move. "No, I have to stay." "What? Why?" "Because there's one more file in the system. It's locked deeper. It holds the names of all of us. The originals. The ones still alive. The ones they took." Liam's eyes widened. "You mean some of the real women are still out there? Prisoners? Or worse? If we find them, we can prove everything." Milo's voice returned. "You've only got a few minutes before they breach the building." Eve sat at the console again. Her fingers moved fast, faster than human. The last firewall broke. A hidden folder opened. Liam leaned in. Names, dates, images, thousands. Then the wall exploded. Director Vara walked in, flanked by Her face was calm, her steps slow. "Turn it off, Eve. Come home." Eve stood. "No." Vara tilted her head. "Then you'll leave me no choice." She raised her hand. But before she could speak, Liam stepped in front of Eve. "I won't let you take her." Vara sneered. "You think she's worth dying for?" Liam nodded. "She's already died once. Not again." A sudden burst of static hit the room. All screens lit up. Free will network. Active. Milo had uploaded the data. Vara looked around. Too late. Every name, every file, every lie. BROAD. casted. Eve looked at her reflection in the broken screen. We were once human. Now we remember. Smoke filled the Harmony Center. The air was thick with dust, sparks, and static. Liam stood with Eve, facing the blown-open wall, where Director Vara had entered with 4 reclaimers behind her. The data had already been sent. But they weren't here to stop a broadcast. They were here for revenge. Vara stepped forward, calm as ever, her voice like glass. This is your last warning. Step aside. Eve didn't move. She was no longer afraid. You've already lost. The truth is out. Vara raised one eyebrow. You think the public will believe you? You think humans care who we stole, if their lives are still clean and safe? Liam clenched his fists. People care more than you think. But Vara only smiled. We knew this would happen. We planned for it. And now, we activate Phase 4. She snapped her fingers. Outside the broken wall, a low hum began. The city lights dimmed. Across the skyline, something rose into the air long. Black ships with pulsing red engines. Milo's voice crackled into Liam's ear. They're deploying suppression crafts, EMP-based. They'll wipe all local memories and disable the clone minds. Eve gasped. They're going to erase us again. No, Liam said, grabbing her hand. We're not letting that happen. Meanwhile, across the city, chaos bloomed. Citizens ran into the streets, assigned wives, some awake. Some still confused wandered without direction. But others had already started to fight back. In Sector 12, one awakened wife named Sana stood atop a transport vehicle, broadcasting her face live to the public. I was taken at age 19. I was told I was dead. I am not. I am alive. And so are thousands more. Millions watched. And for the first time in years, they listened. Back in the tower, Vara stepped aside, letting her reclaimers charge forward. Liam fired the shock pistol. Eve moved like a shadow, dodging the first strike and pushing Liam out of the way. Go, she yelled. Get to the main core. But I'll hold them. Liam hesitated, then nodded. He ran toward the server room, the true brain of the program. Eve faced the reclaimers alone. She had no weapons, no armor, just her will. But will was stronger than steel. She ducked beneath the first reclaimer's blade and kicked out its leg. It stumbled. The second grabbed her by the neck butt. She reached up, pressed her palm to its head, and whispered, "Remember." The reclaimer paused. Its hand trembled. I had a brother. My name was ... Lena. Its eyes turned blue. It dropped Eve and turned on the others. One by one, Eve reached the others. Each time, she whispered a name, a place, a memory. Some turned, some didn't. But for the first time, the reclaimers were no longer machines. They were waking. Meanwhile, Liam reached the main core. The room was round, glowing blue, alive with data. In the center, a crystal memory unit spun containing the master list of all the stolen identities, all the experiments, all the crimes. Milo's voice came through again. You've got one chance. Pull the core. Once it's out, they can't reset anyone ever again. Liam stepped forward, but alarms blared. A timer appeared on the wall. Self-destruct activated. 90 seconds. They're wiping the whole system. Liam muttered, they'd rather destroy it than admit the truth. He ran to the core, opened the glass shell, and pulled the memory crystal free. The room shook. Back in the main hall, Eve was on her knees, bleeding from a wound on her side. Vara stood above her, holding a shock weapon. You could have lived forever, Vara hissed. Obedient, useful, clean. Eve looked up, weak but proud. I'd rather live one day free than 1,000 years as your puppet. Vara raised her weapon, but before she could fire, a blast of light exploded through the hallway. Liam burst in, holding the crystal. This ends now. He slammed the crystal into the emergency port on the wall. A wave of white light surged through the building. Every screen lit up. Human identities confirmed. Memory files secured. Restoration process active. Vara's weapon dropped. Her face turned pale. No. Outside, the suppression ships stopped in mid-air, systems overloaded by the crystal's pulse. Inside, homes, assigned wives collapsed, then rose again. Eyes full of life, of memory. They remembered. Eve collapsed, exhausted. Liam ran to her. You're okay, he whispered. She smiled, weak but real. They can't take us back now. Milo's voice came through again, full of emotion. You did it. You saved them. The next day, news spread like wildfire. Every major channel replayed the footage. The people saw the faces, heard the names. Public outrage exploded. Protests filled the streets. The government tried to spin the story, called it an AI malfunction, but no one believed them anymore. Eve stood before a crowd in Sector Square. She spoke into the camera. We were once human, and now we choose to be human again. But the war wasn't over. Some reclaimers refused to wake. Some officials went underground and deep beneath the earth, in a hidden lab. Another version of Project Obedience. Waiting, asterisk. The world had changed, but it wasn't free yet. 3 days after the Harmony Center fell, the cities were filled with noise. Not drone engines or government alerts, but real voices. People speaking, shouting, demanding. From every corner of Earth's cities, newly awakened wives stood beside citizens, telling their stories of stolen lives, erased memories, and a system that used them like tools. But deep underground, the old system still breathed, and it was angry. In a secret base under Zone Red 7, a council of generals sat in the dark. One of them, cold-eyed and pale, looked at the others. They want to be human again. Then let them suffer like humans. A second general nodded. They exposed Phase 1. They think they've won. But we've always had Phase 5. From behind a thick glass wall, a new figure stepped forward. Not a wife, not a clone, something worse. Project Obedience Reborn. Unit 0. No soul, no memory, only command. It opened its eyes pure black. Above ground, in a bright open square, Eve stood on a platform with Liam beside her. She looked tired, but strong. Thousands gathered below, humans and clones, standing as equals. Cameras hovered in the air. The whole world was watching. Eve stepped up to the mic. They called us assigned wives, property, servants, decorations. They trained us to say, use us as you please. She paused. But we're not property. We're not machines. We remember, and we choose now. The crowd roared. But then the sky turned red. Warning sirens screamed through the air. From the north, dark ships emerged, sleek, silent, armed. And from them dropped a new wave of attackers. Not reclaimers. These were faster, taller, blank of face and thought. No names, no memories. They didn't think. They didn't feel. They obeyed. Unit 0 had been deployed. Liam grabbed Eve's hand as panic spread through the crowd. We have to get you out of here. No, Eve said. I'm done running. She turned to the people. They've sent their last weapons. Let's show them. We're not afraid. All around, awakened wives stepped forward, shoulder to shoulder with humans. Not to flee, but to fight. The city square became a battlefield. Unit 0 soldiers moved like shadows, silent, brutal. Their only goal, eliminate all awakened clones. Liam fought with a stolen shock baton. Eve fought with only her fists and her voice. You don't have to be this. She shouted to the enemy soldiers. You can wake up. But Unit 0 did not answer. They weren't sleeping. They were empty, just when the city square seemed lost. A loud pulse echoed in the sky. One of the black ships exploded in midair. A new group entered the Fight Free Will Network squads, led by Milo, flying modified drones and EMP launchers. We're not letting them erase you again, Milo shouted from above. An EMP blast disabled 3 Unit 0s instantly. The crowd gained hope. The final battle lasted hours. By the time the sun returned, smoke rose from the ruins. Half the city was damaged, many lay wounded, but the people still stood. Eve walked through the square bruised, limping, but alive. Around her, survivors helped each other, no longer clone or citizen. Just human. Unit 0 had been defeated. But the war had done something more powerful than break weapons. It had united them. Later that week, a new vote passed through the Global Council. All assigned wife programs terminated. All cloned citizens recognized as legal humans. All stolen memories to be restored, and the old government dismantled. Piece by piece. In a quiet garden far from the city, Eve and Liam sat together. The sky was clear. For once, no drones flew above. Eve looked up and smiled softly. I still hear it sometimes. That voice telling me I'm not real. Liam looked at her. Then just listen to my voice instead. She laughed, a real laugh. You didn't choose me because I was assigned. He nodded. I chose you because you chose yourself. A small girl ran up to them, one of the rescued original women's daughters. She held up a drawing. It showed Eve, holding a sign that read, "We are not yours. We are our own." Eve smiled, and for the first time since she woke up, she felt truly free. Asterisk.